Welcome to today's presentation. Today, I'll be going over Administrative Guide Procedure 330.01, Reporting Sick. You should be aware that in 2021, there used to be one procedure regarding reporting sick, and in that procedure, they covered reporting regular sick and administrative sick. In 2021, they split the procedures. Now we have two procedures about reporting sick. This procedure, 330.01, and also 330.02, which deals with administrative sick. By them splitting this procedure up, they did make the procedure a lot easier to understand. We begin with the definition of regular sick. Regular sick is defined as a sick excusal for a uniform member of the service who is not eligible for or declines administrative sick, which requires a visit to the department surgeon. That's why nobody wants to report regular sick, because they have to visit the department surgeon. Everyone wants to report administrative sick, because they don't have to report to the department surgeon. And the general rule is the uniform member of service to report to the assigned district surgeon at the next regular office hours. That's the general rule. Hey, I'm reporting regular sick. At the next regular office hours, I have to report to the district surgeon. But there are 5 exceptions to that rule, and in these 5 situations, you have special reporting requirements. The general rule, report to the district surgeon at the next regular office hours, with these 5 exceptions. So let's go through each exception, and then we'll go over an acronym to memorize all 5 exceptions. First, member designated chronic absent, category B. Will report to the medical division, special medical district, confidential medical district at the next regular office hours. That's the first exception. If you are chronic absent category B, that means you cannot go to your district surgeon. You have to report to the special medical district / confidential medical district. Second, member reporting sick on Friday or Saturday will report to the medical division weekend surgeon at 1000 hours the following day. So generally, you report regular sick, you go see your district surgeon. But if you're reporting regular sick on Friday or Saturday, you can't go see a district surgeon the next day because they're not working. So you report sick on Friday, well, you have to report to the medical division weekend surgeon on Saturday. You report sick on Saturday, you have to report to the medical division weekend surgeon on Sunday, both at 1000 hours. Then, the third exception to the rule, member unable to travel will remain at the place of confinement and notify the sick desk supervisor. Very easy. Hey, I know normally I have to go see the district surgeon next regular office hours, but I'm unable to travel. In that scenario, I will remain in my place of confinement and notify the sick desk supervisor. And you're going to see, we're going to go over this again in a subheading in this procedure in a little while. And then we have member with dental problems will be guided by the sick desk supervisor member regarding reporting requirements. I'm not too sure what they're going to tell you, but you're not going to report to the district surgeon. You're going to be guided by what the sick desk supervisor / member tells you what to do. And lastly, when directed otherwise by the medical division supervisor. If the medical division supervisor say, hey, don't report to the district surgeon next regular office hours, you're going to do as you're told. And there it is. We have a total of 5 exceptions to the rule. The rule is, when you report regular sick, you will report to your district surgeon next regular office hours, except for these 5 exceptions. So let's go over them again with an acronym. And my acronym I've used is CUFD Plus. CUFD Plus. You will report to your assigned district surgeon, except if the UMOS is CUFD Plus. The C will stand for chronic B. And we know if you're chronic B, you will have to report to that special medical district, confidential medical district. And then the U, you're unable to travel. You will stay in your home and you notify the sick desk supervisor and be guided by his direction. And the F for Fridays and Saturdays, you report sick. If you report sick on Friday or Saturday, you have to go to the medical division weekend surgeon the next day. And then the D for dental problems. You're going to be guided by that sick desk supervisor/member. And lastly, the plus, when directed by the medical division supervisor. So the general rule is you report to your district surgeon the next office hours, except if you're cuff plus. If you're cuff plus, you have special reporting requirements. Now the procedure begins. When a uniformed member of service is unable to perform duty due to 1, illness, 2, injury, or 3, any other physical or psychological condition, that uniformed member of service will notify the medical division sick desk, direct, and obtain a sick serial number. That's right. You want to report regular sick? Call the sick desk and report sick. You're calling the medical division sick desk direct, and you will obtain a sick serial number. Very important, because you're going to have to give that to your desk officer or supervisor at your command in a second. But before you hang up, you have to also inform that medical division sick desk of any change of address or location or telephone number. And you will obtain the name of the sick desk member and record the time notified. Officer, supervisor from the sick desk, what's your name? And you're going to record that with the time you reported sick. Now that you've obtained that sick serial number from the medical division sick desk, you will provide your sick serial number to the desk officer supervisor at your assigned command. Right after you get off the phone with the sick desk, you then call your command and give them that control number. Very important. We're going to talk about now the guidance they provide about staying at your residence or other authorized location. Okay, normally you will remain at your residence or other authorized location unless, and these unlesses are when you're allowed to leave your residence or other authorized location. If you have permission to leave from the department surgeon or the sick desk supervisor, you could leave your residence or other authorized location when you're out sick. And let me provide you an example of that. You see, you are out sick on a day tour, and your kid got hurt at school, and you get a phone call from the school, and they're telling you that your child was moved to the hospital. It's 9 o'clock in the morning, you're out sick, you're not supposed to leave your residence. If you get permission from the department surgeon, the sick desk supervisor, can you leave your residence to go to the hospital, okay, to see your child? Yes, you can. But normally, you stay in your residence. Second, UMOS is outside the assigned tour of duty. In other words, you're assigned to the day tour. You reported sick on that day tour. The day tour ends. It's 1,800 hours in the evening now. Are you allowed to leave your residence? Yes, you may. And lastly, UMOS is RDO. You're out sick, let's just say Monday through Friday for your 5-day work week. It's now Saturday. You're still out sick. On Saturday, it's your RDO. Can you leave your residence or other authorized location? Yes, you may. Now understand, this is a general rule, and in a second, we're going to go over exceptions to the rule where you are not allowed to leave your residence unless you have permission of that department surgeon or the sick desk supervisor. In other words, you can't leave on your RDO, and you can't leave when you're outside your assigned tour of duty. So here it is. Here's the exception. We know the rule is you stay in your residence or other authorized location unless you have that 3 situations. Unless you have permission from the department surgeon or the sick desk supervisor, or it's outside of your regularly assigned tour or your RDO. But you will not leave your residence or other authorized location for the entire sick occurrence without permission of the department surgeon or the sick desk supervisor if, now we have these lists of situations when you can't leave your residence. Okay, first we're going to go through each one of them, and then we're going to go through an acronym to help you remember the situations when you can't leave your residence. So we have 5 reasons why you must stay in your residence or other authorized location for the entire occurrence. Other than, of course, you can leave with the permission of the department surgeon or the sick desk supervisor. First, your designated chronic absent category A or B. Oh, that's important, really important. You see, we know that if you're chronic absent category B, you have to report to the special medical district. And that's one reason why you have to know what chronic absent category B is. Now, they're telling you that if you're chronic absent category A or B, you must stay in your residence or other authorized location for the entire sick occurrence. And we're going to go over what makes you chronic category A and chronic category B in a minute. Next, we have unmodified assignment. If you're on modified assignment, you've been a bad boy, you will have to stay in your residence or otherwise authorized location for the entire sick occurrence. And then we have on dismissal probation. You're on dismissal probation, you have to stay in your residence or other authorized location for the entire sick occurrence. Of course, unless you have permission to leave of the department surgeon or the sick desk supervisor. If you're on suspension, you got to stay in your residence for the entire sick occurrence. Of course, unless you have permission from the department surgeon or the sick desk supervisor. And lastly, if the department surgeon deems home confinement is necessary, you have to stay in your residence for the entire sick occurrence. So there it is, 5 reasons when you will have to stay in your residence or other authorized location for the entire sick occurrence. And the best way to remember that is CMOD. CMOD are the 5 situations when you have to stay in your residence for the entire occurrence or other authorized location for the entire sick occurrence, unless you have permission to leave by the department surgeon or the sick desk supervisor. So let's go through it. C, chronic absent, category A or B. Yes, A or B. And modified assignment. The M, the O, on suspension. The D, department surgeon deems home confinement is necessary. And a D for dismissal probation. CMOD, CMODD. Know the situations when you cannot leave your residence for the entire sick occurrence without the permission of that department surgeon or the sick desk supervisor. And know that we have the general rule when you're allowed to leave your residence, and then we have the exception when you can't leave your residence or other authorized location. So we've been going on and on about chronic A and chronic B. We know for chronic B, you got to go to the special medical district instead of your district surgeon. And we know chronic A and chronic B, you have to stay in your residence or other authorized location for the entire sick occurrence. And what we have not yet gone over, we go over it in the next procedure, 330.02, administrative sick. You are not allowed to be given administrative sick for chronic B. So there are 3 reasons why you have to know what makes a uniform member of service chronic absent category A and chronic absent category B. Now, they do not cover what makes you chronic in this procedure. It's covered in another administrative guide procedure, but I think it's very important to go over it right now. So, chronic sick category A, a uniform member of service who reports sick for any reason except an initial line of duty, or for hospitalization at any time. 4 or more times within a 12-month period. So, first, be aware. If you're out sick, you report sick due to initial line of duty. It does not count in this program. If you report sick and you're hospitalized, it does not count towards this program. But if you go sick for any other reasons other than those two, it counts towards a chronic sick program. So, very simple. What makes you chronic sick category A? You report sick 4 or more times in a 12-month period. You're chronic sick category A. What does that mean? I know that means I must stay in my residence or other authorized location for the entire sick occurrence because I'm chronic category A. And then what about chronic category B? There are 2 reasons that will put you in this category. Chronic sick category B, a uniform member of service who reports sick for any reason except initial line of duty or for hospitalization at any time. Now, we went over that. Remember, initial line of duty, those sicknesses don't count. Hospitalization is required, those sicknesses don't count towards this program. You report 6 or more times in that 12-month period, you're chronic B. Or you report 4 or more times in a 12-month period, and you lose a lot of work days. And you lose 40 or more work days. 40 or more work days. Not calendar days, 40 or more work days. That would make you chronic absent category B. And what does that mean? That means you got to report to the special medical district. That means that you are not allowed to be granted administrative sick. That means that when you report sick, you have to stay in your residence or other authorized location for the entire sick occurrence. Those are the reasons why you have to know chronic sick category A and chronic sick category B. Then that uniform member of service, they give you guidance on where you're not allowed to go. They do not want you to leave the city or residence counties when you're out sick. And if you do want to leave, you need a very high-level person's permission. So that uniform member of service will not leave the city or residence counties without the approval of the chief of personnel. Wow. The chief of personnel. He's the only one that can allow you to leave the city or residence counties when you're out on sick report. And that would be also true if you report regular sick this procedure or administrative sick 330.02, the next procedure. The same rule applies. And they tell you that if you do have to leave, you will make that request through the district surgeon if necessary. That uniform member of service will report to the department surgeon in the next office hours as directed by the medical division. And we went over that. We know that certain situations we report to our district surgeon the next regular office hours. And then we have CUF Plus are the situations we have special reporting requirements. And I remember when they added this next point to this procedure. Comply with lawful order/instruction of a supervisor, regardless of rank, dispatched by a competent authority to visit a member of service on sick report. I remember why they added it. Why they added this to the procedure? Because a sergeant had reported sick. And they sent a sergeant to his residence to tell him he has to report to the department surgeon. And the sergeant who was out sick says, "Hey, you're a sergeant, I'm a sergeant, you can't tell me what to do. Go get a lieutenant, and he could tell me to report to the department surgeon." That didn't fly very well. So they put it in the patrol guide. They say, hey, regardless of rank, you have to comply with that lawful order instruction by a supervisor. And you will, of course, return to duty as directed by the department surgeon. You go to the department surgeon, he says, hey, you're fit for duty, go back to work. Go back to work. Then we have to talk about the tour rule. Uniform member of service whose tours vary on a day-to-day basis will be confined to their residence or authorized location during the tour of duty where they are scheduled to perform on the day that they reported sick. This tour of duty will become the UMOS's tour for the duration of the sick occurrence. So let me give you an example. On Monday, you're scheduled for the day tour. And on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, you were scheduled for 4 to 12s. You reported sick on Monday, the day you were scheduled for the day tour. You see, that day tour will be your tour for the entire week. Even though on Tuesday you were scheduled for the 4 to 12, no. Your tour will be the tour that you were supposed to do on the day you reported sick for the duration of that sick occurrence. And there it is, all the duties of the uniformed member of service who reports sick. Not too difficult. Now we got to talk about the desk officer / supervisor. We know the uniformed member of service called the sick desk direct and reported sick, obtained a control number, then called his command and gave it to the desk officer / supervisor. Now we have the duty of that desk officer / supervisor who received the call from the officer saying he reported regular sick. He's going to have to record that this officer went sick in 3 locations. Very important. How many locations? 3 locations. He's going to record pertinent information in 1, the sick log, 2, the telephone record, and 3, the Central Personnel Resource System, the CPR system. You're going to make an entry in that CPR system. So it has to be recorded that this individual went regular sick in the sick log, the telephone record, and the CPR system. And you're required as the desk officer supervisor to notify the relieving desk officer / supervisor if the member is scheduled to perform duty with either of the next 2 platoons. Let me give an example. You're working at midnight, and somebody on the day tour or somebody on the 4 to 12 had reported sick. You, the desk officer of that first platoon, the midnight, has to notify the relieving desk officer / supervisor that an officer went sick. And you comply with AG 330.04, notifying court, trial room, or other agencies when member service reports sick if appropriate. Yes, we're going to cover that procedure extensively in the lesson. Briefly, I don't want to go over the whole procedure, but when you get notified somebody reported sick and they have court, we're going to have to make entries in the command diary. And if he has a pending arraignment, we need to have to notify the borough court section. But more about that when we cover AG 330.04. Now we have to be really careful because sometimes we have to make a notification to the sick desk supervisor. Sometimes we have to make a notification to the medical division, the absence, control, and investigations unit of the medical division. We can't mix up these 2 notifications. That's why I warn you to be careful. Because that desk officer / supervisor will notify the sick desk supervisor if special or unusual circumstances exist regarding a uniformed member of service reporting sick. And I love it because they give us an example. Example is a uniformed member of service reporting sick from out of state or out of country. Ring, ring, ring. Sergeant Yancek, 81st Precinct Desk. How may I help you? Oh, Officer Beamish, you want to report regular sick. Oh, you're in the Bahamas by the pool drinking a pina colada and you're reporting regular sick. That is unusual because it's from out of country. You, the desk officer, have to notify the sick desk supervisor. Ring, 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 Sergeant Yancek, 81st Precinct Desk. Oh, Officer Beamish, you're in California, in Napa Valley, drinking wine. Oh, that's unusual. That's special, unusual circumstances. I'm going to have to notify the sick desk supervisor. And what we don't want to do is mix up that notification with the next notification. Because the desk officer / supervisor will have to notify the medical division, absence control, and investigations unit if the uniformed member of service is suspected of malingering. Yes, malingering. And if you look up in the dictionary what malingering means, to feign illness in order to avoid work or avoid duty. So, you suspect somebody of malingering, you're the desk officer, just received the call from the officer that they reported sick, and you suspect them of malingering, you pick up the phone as the desk officer / supervisor and notify the medical division's absence control and investigations unit. Now, do we take the word of this officer. We just get the control number and believe that he's out sick. No, we do not. That desk officer supervisor will have to query the medical division sick reporting system to ensure the uniformed member of service who reported sick is listed as being sick on sick report. So you go into the computer system, you query that medical division sick reporting system to make sure that Beamish actually went sick. You are checking via the query of this medical division's sick reporting system. And there it is. Make sure you have down pat all the duties of the uniformed member of service and all the duties of that desk officer / supervisor. Now we have only one duty of the operations coordinator, lieutenant's duty. So this is the one duty you don't need to know if you're studying for sergeant exam. You're studying for lieutenant's exam? Absolutely. You're studying for captain's exam? Absolutely. But other than this one slide, the sergeants need to study everything in this procedure except for this one bit of information. Because the operations coordinator, that lieutenant, will access the medical division sick reporting system. How often? Periodically. How often? Periodically throughout the tour, and ensure the department records are updated as necessary. There it is. One duty of the operations coordinator. And then we have a subheading. And the subheading is, what happens when a uniformed member of service is unable to visit the department surgeon? And we briefly spoke about this at the beginning of the procedure. Because that uniformed member of service who's unable to visit the department surgeon, maybe he has 2 broken legs and he's blind, well, he can't get to the department surgeon. And in that scenario, he'll notify the sick desk supervisor of that inability to visit the department surgeon and be guided by the instructions received. Maybe the sick desk supervisor will send somebody to go pick him up. But you're going to be guided by his directions. I don't know what he's going to do. And now we just have to finish off with a few additional data statements. But make sure you have everything down pat with the duties of uniformed member of service, the desk officer / supervisor, and the one duty of the operations coordinator. So here they talk about requesting limited capacity. Do you have to, as a general rule, see to the department surgeon to request limited capacity? The general rule is yes, with one exception. Although it is not necessary to report sick to request a limited capacity assignment from a department surgeon, all uniformed member of service, with one exception, with the exception of those requesting pregnancy-related position limitation status, must visit the department surgeon prior to requesting such assignment. Got to visit the department surgeon if you want to be put on this limited capacity, except pregnancy-related position limitation status. And then they tell us the rule about the department conducting routine supervisory visits or telephone calls. Because in some situations, the department will not subject a person who went regular sick to routine supervised visits or telephone calls. The uniformed member of service who have not been classified as chronic absent, he's not chronic absent, or who have not been referred to supervision, and who have any of the following medical conditions as per the department surgeon's diagnosis, will not be subject to routine supervisory visits or telephone calls. You have a broken leg. Now, as long as you're not chronic and you're not referred for supervision, they're not going to visit you or call you. Pregnancy. Post-surgical convalescence. In other words, you had back surgery. You're all laid up. You can't even get out of bed. They won't visit. Won't call. Heart condition. And lastly, illness diagnosed by the department surgeon is likely to be a duration of excess of 6 months after conferred with the supervising chief surgeon, like he just had cancer. Yeah. They're not going to subject you to routine supervisory visits or telephone calls for these illnesses. And lastly, if you're out sick, can you do paid detail? No, you may not. Uniformed member of service are not permitted to perform paid detail assignments while on regular sick. You're out regular sick, can't do paid detail assignments. And they say this includes when a uniformed member of service outside their assigned tour of duty or on RDO. So we know if you're RDO or outside your assigned tour of duty, you're allowed to leave your residence. But you can't leave your residence to go do paid detail. And in addition, uniform member of service must notify the paid detail unit as soon as it becomes apparent that they will not be able to appear at scheduled assignment. Hey, let paid detail know, hey, you're not going to show up. Why? You're out regular sick. Because you're not allowed to engage in paid detail assignment when you're out regular sick. And there it is, 3/30/01, reporting sick. This was effective on November 16th of 2022, and it was last revised by Revision Order 112 of 22. My name's Mike Yanisick. You have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to email me anytime at mike@elitestrategictraining.com, or you can email my son Connor at connor@elitestrategictraining.com, or you can call us at 516-761-9101. Keep studying, stay focused, and stay motivated. Till next time.